Okay. Well, firstly, welcome to everyone at the event. I can only see you, Joy. I can't see anyone else. Well, look, as long as everyone can see and hear me for now, and every now and then maybe some audience feedback just to make sure I've been heard and seen. Okay, I'll begin again. I'll just hopefully everyone can hear and see me. So my name is Uluki Brendan Murray, and I am descended from, well, several tribes. We follow our bloodline on our grandparents' line, not our parents. And on my grandfather's side, we are descended from a tribe called Waa-Wurrung, which is from the mouth of the Plenty River into the Yarra, all the way to Mount Bawbor was our territory, is our territory, not was. And it's a tribe that's no longer, well, it's never been acknowledged by the powers to be, but that's okay. There's no stopping spirit. And I guess throughout our spiritual journey, mine in particular, as Joy said, I've had many great teachers. From the age of 13 years, I sat down with tables of much senior aged people, both men and women, to learn and study philosophy of our people. And not just of our people. When I say our people, that means everyone in the world. And my teachers have taught me many things to do with our world's interaction with the spirit world. And one of my most prominent teachers there was a man named, or is a man named Wallace Black Elk, who's no longer with us in this reality. But the emergence of realities that's occurring right at this moment in time is like it's never occurred before. And we're going to be seeing a lot more crossover from alternate and past timelines that merge with our present time. And throughout this period, we're going to be seeing a lot more spiritual activity. Now, when our people speak of the spirit world, it's not about dead people, because there is no death. The spirit world is the overall term for all things that are not seen by our senses in this 3D world. Or although our peripheral can see things and our ears can hear things from other dimensions and other realities. So we're at a time now where there's lots and lots of spiritual activity on the earth, in amalgamating from different dimensions and timelines, because a timeline is a different dimension. And I guess we're going to be also rising in a vibration. Our mother that we live upon, who is the true mother of humanity, and you can ask me how during the question time, if someone would like to. But one of the things we learnt about dealing with the spirit world is the full acknowledgement that none of those beings or presences can have any power over us. The most dangerous beings in our presence are the 3D individuals that surround us. The living humans are the most dangerous. Spirit can only harm you if you allow them or invite them to, or if you don't know the proper ways of protecting yourself or clearing yourself as well. Now, there will, are you there, Joy?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure I'm still being... Yes.
We
Yeah,
can
just
still
want to
hear
make
you.
sure I'm still being heard.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you. I can see and
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah.
Great.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, I understand there's some people in the audience from different backgrounds. Some from who look at ufology and the ETs, as well as doing the ghost chasing here in this 3D reality. And then the image that you have behind you, Joy, is there's some there that are called Wandjina spirits, and the Wandjinas are actually ETs, and they're an alien that has no mouth. And I actually had a visitation from a Wandjina spirit who spoke to me very plain and simply what their role was on the earth and why they had sought me out for communication. I've been communicated to by different entities and species and ancient creator beings that it took a long time to understand. So my main source of information actually comes from the 7 serpents of creation, or the 7 creator spirits. Although there was 9, but the other 2 are not irrelevant, but they're just not relevant at this point in time. So the 7 created beings are the 7 rainbow serpents that make up the creation of our whole earth, not just here in Australia. And these beings are actually a collective as well as singular, because the world of creation is very, very complex, yet it's simple to witness in a way. And the greatest key to witnessing any kind of marvel within our multidimensional reality is to activate your heart space. Because a lot of people thinking with their heads, but that's child's play. That's what amateurs are good for. We chuck out the intellect and remain, for in the heart is true light and power. And the darkness has a very hard time penetrating into our heart space, for darkness can penetrate the mind very easy. So what's happening on our earth right now, which began a couple of weeks ago, was a process to do with our human and our physical and spiritual evolution on the planet. We did not evolve from monkeys, but we yet are still an evoluting process. And that process is now about to take us into a higher dimension. And our mother, who was a conscious, singular spirit.
You're just freezing.
Spiritual genesis to a place called the Yarra Valley, because all things had a beginning. All things began with desire and acceptance. When our earth had been gestated and become conscious of herself, before that occurred, Uluki was a seed from the Pleiades that planted itself into the earth. And with that rock came biological matter and energetic matter, because energy is matter just of a different form. Spirits are matter just of a different form. So during the gestation or the permeation of our earth energy, during that time, a lot of different species of our celestial brothers and sisters had brought to our earth
gifts to honour our Creator. And those gifts are now what people would call the animal world, and even a lot of plants and microorganisms were brought here from other places and placed on the earth to resonate and be part of our co-creation here. Now, when our earth as a whole, when the animal world become conscious, self-conscious, or just spiritually aware of themselves, in our story here, Spirit had showed me that animal was the red kangaroo. And it was a female red kangaroo that had noticed herself in a pool of water as she was drinking. And what she realized was there was two parts to her. There was the physical reflection that she could see on the water. But inside, when she noticed her own eyes, that there was something else inside, and that was the spiritual side of her. And once that moment had occurred on our earth, the seven spirits of creation, or the seven rainbow energies, or rainbow creators, had invited their father down from the stars. Now, the seven rainbow serpents, or the seven, even they've been noted as dragons as well. The seven rainbow creators are made up of 3 feminine rainbow serpents, 3 masculine rainbow serpents, and the central one, which is out in the desert around the rock, is an androgynous serpent being that has no sexuality or no bias towards one or the other. And that's how we end up with a balance out of 7, by one being none or the other. So when our creator spirits here had noticed that the animal world had become spiritually conscious of their own existence, then the 7 creator beings had invited their father down, who was a very magnificent being whose name is Biami. And Biami was our first name for God on earth, or creator from the stars. And when he arrived on the earth, between him and the 7 serpents of creation, it was mainly the 7 serpents of creation that manifested a embodiment of the woman out of the earth. And she was designed and manifested out of rainbow obsidian. And when they had levitated this rainbow obsidian woman off the earth, and when they brought her back down to the earth, she was placed on a ley line central, where all the ley lines of the planet come together into one place. And the moment she landed on the ley lines, all living creatures of the earth, every insect, every tree, every plant, every spiritual consciousness that was alive, had donated a piece of their spirit to go through the ley lines of our earth into the rainbow obsidian woman to give her life. And she absorbed all of that donated energy from the animal world to be her. And not just animals, the rivers are living beings, and the land is a living being, and the ocean is a sea of living beings. And our celestial father had laid with our earthly mother and co-created 13 children together during his time on our earth. And those 13 children later become known as the 13 crystal skulls, or the 13 crystal beings, who are not celestial, but rather the firstborn humanoids of our planet. And that occurred in a location just northeast of Melbourne. And the firstborn was a male, because the first humanoid of our Earth was a woman. The next happened in a sequence, male then female, then male then female, male then female, until it come to 13 children. And the first child of our celestial father and our earthly mother was how the spiritual creation of the human spirit world within his spirit. And the second born, who was a female, had an allotted frequency or energy born to her, which pertains to the cosmic octave, which is the correlation between the seven rainbow colours and the seven notes of music. And also the seven rainbow colours, just like the seven notes of music, there was 5 semitones or 5 semi-colours or semitonal colours applied in our early days of our creation to allow hybridization of humanity into the future, so other celestials can come and mix with our DNA and create newer forms of humans. And at the time when the 13 children was living on our Earth in the Yarra Valley, alongside their earthly mother and their celestial father, there was a being who had come down on a beam of light from the sky to meet with our celestial father. Now, celestial father then turned to the 13 children and had spoken to them about what had occurred, where he came from. And he explained that he had to return to his home because his other children were misbehaving, and he needed to go home to sort out his other children and punish them. And he made a set number of promises to humanity, to the spiritual humanity, which was that the final one was that he will return to our Earth. And this is what we're coming up to in our timelines and interdimensional mergence, is the actual return of our celestial father to the Earth. But that's not going to happen for a little bit more time just yet. So the whole Melbourne is a very special area consciously with our spiritual creation to do with humanity. We are sitting on top of the world's greatest manifestory, which means that if we are to manifest anything, this is the place to do it from. And that's why people need to be very, very disciplined to not manifest dark things such as self-wants. Wants are no good. Wants are just unnecessary needs. And so we must watch our every thought and our every word, even that crosses our tongues within this region, because we can manifest that into reality. So we have to be very careful, but in hindsight, that means that we can come together as I don't like to say collective, because collective is not quite right. Collective is a beast with no head. But we can come together as a spiritual people and actually manifest great change on the Earth from the Melbourne location. And also during the early times of humanity, our physical creation has been kept a secret from us. And I can explain the spiritual creation, how, and the songs, because we are just nothing but songs. We're frequency. Matter is frequency. Everything is just a vibration, as you guys all know. but our songs have been out of tune. So we need to tune up our song by really watching the way we think, making much decisions out of our heart space as possible, and let not the head or the mind interfere, and to actually practice that on a daily basis. And once you can get into that mode of operations spiritually, your vibration will rise immensely, and the knowledge that you receive from the universe will be beyond what our minds have been capable of thinking before that process occurs. Now, are you listening there, Joy?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. You can hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure that people can hear me. And now another thing you mentioned before, Joyce, was the light and the dark territories, which is comes a long time after our spiritual creation, but I guess it's to do with, you know, a lot of you guys out there listening, you've probably been to places that send chills up your spine and give you the heebie-jeebies, so to speak. Well, you should really listen to that and get out of there, because there's certain territories in this country that belong to the dark forces, and that was their private territory. And we would never incur ourselves or invade their space. But also they would never come outside and invade our space. So there's certain regions, and every tribal territories had these regions that was reserved for the dark things to live in. And so we all had our own territory. And during the colonisation of this country, a lot of that knowledge was disrupted, and places and towns were built in the territory of the darkness. And it's very, very hard for them kind of townships to get anything really good happening. There's just way too much darkness in there for humans. Just shouldn't be there.
Uluki, someone just asked, is Hanging Rock one of those dark places?
Well, yeah, yeah, and also up around Mount Waua-Wurrung and the Waa-Wurrung region as well. There was another place that was belonged to the darkness.
And Mount Macedon?
Mount Macedon. Well, Mount Macedon is an interesting place. There's actually something to do with elephant dreaming out there. Now, a lot of information has been given to me by Spirit, and also has been hidden in the text from the early scribes of this country, is the fact that it would almost appear the whole planet was manifested out of here. And so there's different dreaming stories here that actually about animals from different countries and animals that no longer exist here, such as buffalo and elephant. Well, flamingos lived here up until recently. Only the 1800s, they sort of died out, flamingos, in the south. But I think Macedon did have an elephant dreaming story attached to it tribally, to the tribes down here. There's also, this is not our first time that our reality has occurred to this degree. One of the people that taught me that was Wallace Black Elk, when he had explained to me the three separate or the three previous incarnations of our humanity that rose to the same degree of technology that we have now, before a great cataclysm had ended that structure, because because of ideas like vanity and hate and want. And vanity is one of the biggest causes of darkness on this earth. I think I spoke about it recently on another interview about reflections. And if we look at this 3D world that we live in, this third dimensional world, if basic biology is correct, then our eyes are looking at the world upside down, because our eyes are meant to invert the image that we see. Therefore, when we're standing upright, we must really be standing on the ceiling if our vision is inverted. And the same can be said for reflections, such as mirrors and windows and things that reflect our image. That by no means that is us that we are looking at. And I got taught that the only true reflection that we could see or feel or understand is in the eyes of other human beings. How we are treated is the greatest reflection of our, or how we can see ourselves is through the eyes of others. And through that process, we kept judgment alive, where we judged each other to the point where we kept each other honest. And the system worked. It's only in the past few millennia that the system has been broken down because of certain ideas that was brought to our earth that didn't belong here. And one of those ideas is duality, the separation of masculine and feminine from oneness. That oneness is now reoccurring, and we're undergoing a reunion. And evidence of the segregation dates back to about 5,000 years on the earth, or thereabouts. And that knowledge was taught to me by a medicine man, or what some people call a Kadachiman in this country, from central Arnhem Land. And he came from a place called Remengiting. And he had focused on me when I met him, and had taught me stuff that they don't teach everybody. And they speak of a time when duality occurred on the earth. And when the man and the woman's spirits become separated. And in Arnhem Land, back then, the didgeridoo that down in the south here, only men play, is actually wrong. It's not men who are meant to play it, it's only women who are meant to play it, because it belonged to the women originally. And during the process of when a certain item or monolith was placed upon the earth and caused this duality or separation, is when the men in Arnhem Land had gone to war with the women in Arnhem Land, and they seized the didgeridoo, or what they call yirika, seized it and tried to forbid women from ever playing it again. But the women up there still play it, just that they let the man think they're in charge. But so in the south here, the didgeridoo is actually phallic. It's a phallic symbol. So when a lot of these men play it down here, you can imagine their horror when I tell them actually what it is. But that knowledge comes directly from one of the head ceremony men of Arnhem Land. And that business of stealing the women's business also occurred in many other places in this country around the same time. But in the southeast here, we kept the original law alive. So under our creation story in the southeast, particularly with my tribe, the Raven tribe, which is my grandfather's people, we have a double hit of feminine creation before we get to the Godhead. actually 3 hits of feminine creation before we get to the Godhead. And those steps are the raven woman, who is the epitome of all things in nature, but not humans. Like all the things that made up all your female creatures, your fish, your birds, insects, and mammals, and plants as well, which have sexes as well. And then our next step up from that is a female serpent named Minde. And she's the conscious creator of the energetic nature in the southeast of this country, which was her territory. So remember that she is one of 7, 3 female, 3 male, and the center one, which is androgynous, around the rock. And then her father is Biami, the celestial creator. So our 7 serpents are the first 7 children of our celestial creator, or the creator of all things in the cosmos. Creation as a whole is very strange when you consider that I don't know, I used to believe in chance, but after diving deep or being dragged deep into a more spiritual consciousness, you understand that there is no chance. There is a plan and a design, and the mathematical equation that makes up our reality is far too advanced to be chance. And our mother, our Earth mother, is celestial too. You only got to travel to the moon and look back and know that our mother is a celestial body. I don't think there is anything worldly about us. We are just no different to any other celestial body floating around the cosmos. And we're going to be undergoing great change, which has already begun with our mother singing outwards from her own heart, singing out to her groom, which is Biami, our creator, the father of the 7 serpents. Because our mother is his queen, and which in essence makes all versions of humanity of royal blood in its origins. Because the celestial father is the great king of the cosmos, and our mother is the queen, celestial queen. So truly every human on the earth is a king and a queen of some sort. Now, as time goes on, we're going to be seeing a lot more celestial-looking humans walking among us, because of our vibration is getting higher and higher and higher on the earth, and we are a fractal of our earth, so we're going to be rising with it, whether we like it or not. You have to be a very, very stubborn individual not to raise the vibration. It's going to hurt if people resist it. But at the same time that we're rising, there's other beings that are lowering their frequency or declining their frequency so they can coexist here with us, so that we can better receive the teachings that they have to offer. Also for them to receive teachings from us. Because we have knowledge that out there has lost for a long time. And one of those key aspects of humanity that really intrigues the celestial world is a simple little thing called altruism. And that intrigues some very intelligent beings which have been observing this nature for a long time within us. And it's because of that altruism is one of the reasons why we've been allowed to stay on this place for all these millennia and millennia. And humanity is much, much older than previously thought or spoken about. Millions of years. The time is very strange because there isn't explanation for time yet. Time is not linear and it is not circular. It is neither of those. And it's more like a meandering stream that has tributaries and branches that branch off. It could also be described as a sea, hence the old term, the Sea of Time, which is quite a real place, but the Sea of Time only exists outside of space and time, not in any dimensional reality. I was taken to a specific place that was, when I asked where I was to the specific being, it had explained to me that we was outside of all space and time reality, existing in a membrane between dimensional realities. And that membrane is but a thin veil that can be penetrated by tuning your own frequency or allowing your frequency to be tuned by others. Because I didn't like the word collective before, but the earth, the spiritual consciousness of our humanity is a type of collective where everyone is connected, but it's more about connective than it is collective, because all the spirit world has a hierarchy and a set structure, and that has also been overlaid on the earth. So we come up with some very interesting time spiritually on our earth, which is going to actually affect the geopolitical state of our planet as well. Because the dark forces in the darkness is not having a very good time at the moment, because they realise that they are now the resistance and not the light. And that's why there's such a negative reaction that we've seen on this world for the last, since January. How are we going for time now, Joy? Do you want me to keep talking?
We are running late. Maybe if people just say yes or no, do you want Uluki to maybe continue talking for about 20 minutes or so? Okay, yes, please. Yes, keep going. Really? Yes, please. Yep.
I would love some questions. Okay.
Keep talking and maybe also include how we can navigate these times, and how do we fix this world. We'll get to questions later, Mark. Thanks.
Well, there's only one answer to both of them questions, and that is to find your purpose. Once we have purpose, purpose gives us direction and guidance, but only if we seek our true purpose. I've met many people who have prophesied a false purpose, and my great stubbornness didn't believe it, because I'm a very stubborn human being, which has been great, because what that helped me with is not believing in the lies of others or not believing in the lies of the system. So throughout my great stubbornness, what I did believe and who I did believe was these great, beautiful spiritual teachers who always found a way to find me, and vice versa. And the great spiritual knowledge isn't freely given. One of the things I found with getting knowledge given to you was to not seek it, to not ask it. People can ask questions, but sometimes that knowledge is reserved for those who don't ask. And it's a very strange way of looking at things, but the old people saw that the quiet, reserved person was a trustworthy person. And that a lot of people who were asking a lot of questions were asking because they had a void to fill in their spirit. And they were seeking to find knowledge that help fill that void for whatever purpose they felt fit. But there's many secrets that was taught to me by the desert mob, by the Western Arunta, and that knowledge was freely given because it wasn't sort of asked for. And some of the knowledge that was given actually predated their memory of time on the earth, which was another weird concept to come out of an old tribal lady's mouth when she explained what was given to give to me wasn't of their understanding, that it was knowledge that predated their physical time on the planet. And that was to do with that spiritual creation that we spoke of before, as well as pyramid technology, which they have never spoken of before. So the people up in the desert aren't the original people from there. That the only original bloodlines that was left was in the southeast after the great flood that washed over the world. And the time frame for that is a bit murky. But the more further that people moved away from our spiritual origins here and our original creation stories, the more humanity become lost in their ways, and more evil and more trauma come across the earth because of that. And those times are about finished on our planet. I think there's going to be some actions caused that will actually, the first thing that will need to occur is the ending of the causation of trauma. Anything or anyone that causes trauma will be given notice to cease and desist any trauma on the earth or face their demise. I know that people are looking at ascension as a peaceful process, but it will not be so, sadly enough. There will be battles fought, because the battle has also been fought in the spirit world. So as it's played out in the spirit world, whatever happens there happens here. So if there is a great battle in the spirit world, that battle will find its way and manifest on our earth. Because the spirit world is the blueprint that creates our mattered reality, or our what we call the 3D world. And all of this is already, this world is just an echo of a previous time. And we can't really say how far back that the original blueprint occurred from that spirit world to cause this 3D echo now. But so on the three previous rises in civilization, when man had become ahead of himself and more self-indulgent, as we can see this world has become, there was a great reset that occurred. And remnants of humanity survived who kept the truth of the creation alive to repopulate our earth. But my teachers are very adamant that this is the final time, that this is our final chance at raising ourselves up. We need to rise above ourselves as people of the earth to earn our ascendancy into a higher realm. And that comes with humility, although some people think that humility is a weakness, but it's a great strength. Humility, love, acceptance, not tolerance, because tolerance is a negative, acceptance is a positive. People think it means the same thing, but, not really. If you're saying something in a negative pretext, then it's going to be negative and will lower your vibration. So I was taught to accept is the word that we need to adhere to. So I accept all things. And through that acceptance comes understanding. Because I could never understand anything that I only tolerated or did not accept. So through a universal acceptance of a manifested idea or someone's actions, I accepted them wholly. Shortly with time come the understanding of why that occurred, how that occurred, and the trauma that may have caused that. And then we can act upon that understanding. But if we act upon a misunderstanding, then we're leading ourselves blindly into a very negative future. So we need to gain self-clarity of our purpose. For it is our purpose on the earth that will help create the new world itself. Many spirits have been here for a long time, from the beginning, actually, and have been born and born and born and born. And I know some people don't believe in reincarnation, but we are in a loop. And that loop is coming to a close. And this is now those return loops that we've been having on the earth has gone from very positive, beautiful loops down to the negative trauma loops that we've been caught in for the last few millennia on our earth. And now we're transitioning back to the positive loops. So now we can ride that wave, which isn't just coming in from the outside and through our sun and through the centre of our Milky Way, but it's also reverberating from our mother's heart outwards as a response. Because all things, like I said, are just songs put together to create harmonies. So the human spirit is a three-part harmony. It's not a whole. It can be dissected to its three pieces and sent back to the universe to become a part of another trinity somewhere else. It may never come back as a complete whole. It may come back in 1/3 and all different 1/3 of each other's spiritual reality. And I come to understand the Trinity only because I had a man who studied in Peru different healing methods, and I met him northeast of Melbourne, and him and another man had done a healing on me. And during that process, my spirit was cut or spliced into three pieces. And one piece is the inner child, which is what our 3D presence is. We are the children. We are not man or woman. We are children. In spirit, we are man or woman. Even though there's a reunion from the separation I spoke of before, and it's really hard to explain because reality is not like how everyone thinks it is. Things are and they aren't at the same time. Things are wet and dry simultaneously. Things are hot and cold simultaneously. It depends on which part of the spectrum you're tapping into. And inside us is the rainbow. As people know, we have our chakra bodies with red at the base going up to violet at our crown. And the heart is the centerpiece of that. And the musical staff has middle C, which is C is actually your heart note. So from the base, I mentioned the cosmic octave before, that from the base chakra upwards, your red chakra is the chord G, but in the frequency of 432. The orange chakra is A in the frequency of 432, and then it goes B, C is your heart chakra at the same frequency, and going up to violet, which is F. the note of the spirit cord, or what I call the spirit cord. And using these colours on a weekly basis can also help center your chakra body and help unblock the blockages that have come in between our chakra points within ourselves. So there's also a great spiritual pyramid that exists that was explained to me by a matriarch of the Western Arunta people, west of Alice Springs. And she came from a little community called Wallace Rockhole near Hermannsburg. Now, Hermannsburg is a famous German mission. And when I sat with them people there, I was learning the Arunta language by reading a version of the Lutheran Bible. The Lutherans had translated 6 dialects of the Central Australian languages into the Lutheran Bible. So I would read passages from the Lutheran Bible written in original language, and then the old woman would translate it for me and explain to me where I mispronounced words so I can get a better understanding of the old tongues of our world. And it was her who taught me the pyramid, you could almost say pyramid scheme, and before she told me this, she went on to tell me that this knowledge was given to her by the 7 spirits of our creation, the 7 serpents, to tell to me directly, and that this knowledge wasn't present in their people's dreaming stories. And then people had animal dreaming stories. They didn't have the creation dreaming that we had in the southeast here. And then she explained to me the spiritual pyramid. And she said from above, it's just like any other pyramid. It has 4 corners. And at the base, it goes up to 7 levels, and then another 7 levels, which is the capstone. And those 7 levels are the rainbow colours, from red at the base to violet. And the capstone is the rainbow repeated. But if you look from above at the spiritual pyramid, there was 2 sides opposing negative forces and 2 sides opposing positive forces. And the capstone was neutral in the centre. It didn't have negative or positive aspects. And she said, all living things of the planet, every insect, every bird, every waterway, it lives on this spectrum, this rainbow pyramid. Some live in the positive blue, some live in a negative red. And the old kinship system, when people were identified, it wasn't just by blood, but it was by the colour of their spirit, what they vibrated at. So if someone was vibrating at a positive green, they'll never marry 2 positive together because they don't attract, they repel and cause friction. So they'd marry and also they wouldn't marry a green person to a red person because they don't make good colours. And there's people in between. There's orange people and yellow people who then people can get married to. But they wouldn't overstep and marry a green to a red. And so when someone's born to a negative red doesn't mean they have a negative spirit or evil spirit. It just means that's where they sit on the universal spectrum, which is all people, all of our spirits have a 0 point, which is our heart chakra. You know, when the sub-frequencies is a 3 below the heart, and the higher frequencies, or the higher consciousness, is a 3 above, which becomes, you know, when you look at what is below our heart, is basic primal creation, base chakra, sexuality, libido, everything's red. And I said before that the colour red has the G-note attached to it. And funny enough, I always wondered why G-string was called a G-string, just to throw something different in there. And you notice that all things to do with sexuality is red. the red dress, the red lipstick, the red sports car, all of these things are still in the internal nature of man, which people just don't know why it's there or why it's coming through. And if you notice, a lot of clairvoyants wear purple. That's because they're people who live on the in the violet. That's the colour of their spirit, is violet. They live in the F note, the spirit chord. They're the ones who are open on a more of a open celestial level. Because a lot of people have heard about the indigo children, but they're only one faction of the 7. Also, there's 5 semitones, which was put into place in the early days of our creation. Remember, there was 13 children. The first child held every song of every future human to be born in his spirit. And then that was passed out to the other 12, which was to hold them frequencies on the earth. And each of those crystal beings had a crystal that was resonated with that frequency. And the reason they taught me the spiritual creation, but the reason they didn't teach me the physical creation, because our spirits of the 7 creation spirits says that humans are not ready to hear that knowledge, and it's not for humans really to know about it. That's for our creators. That's for our mother and father. And that knowledge is not for us. But the spiritual knowledge, that spiritual creation is, but not the physical creation, because there's a science to it that we're not to know about. And I accept that. I know people want to know, but life would be very boring if we actually come to know everything. We need mystery. Mystery gives us a platform to achieve, like a mystery to unravel, so we can keep ascending and keep ascending, but we can't ascend if we think we know everything. It'll be quite the opposite. But one day, humans will get to understand and realize all things of creation, even the physical creation. But that's once we're through the veil into the new world. And I was shown a version of the new world, and I think I spoke that to you during the interviews earlier this year, Joy.
Yes.
So I can remember to do with, and that thought's lost now. It's gone.
Maybe you'll come back later. Yeah.
Begin some questions of sorts.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll go for a break